What's going on, guys? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking us on out. By the way, I want to apologize for the previous video. It got all echoey there, like 3/4 into the way. It was a crazy first NFL Sunday. You know, I was trying to be a good dad at bedtime. Forgot to fix one of my dubs. I am re-uploading it, so if you guys want to catch a non-echoey, 12 to 18 minute mark, it'll be up there for you guys. So I apologize as a person who likes to have his tech stuff buttoned up. That was a bad mess up on. Hey, that's on me. That's on me. But it was obviously an exciting day. So, sorry I got that all fixed for you. But got done afterwards after everybody went to bed and all that type of stuff. Got a chance to go back, listen to post-game stuff, and man, still basking in it. You know, first of all, the speech by Mike McDaniel, Goosey's galore. Talking about just love it. It's just like defense. We just needed one, baby. We just needed one. Were you guys Swiss cheese for all that game? Yes, you were. But just need one. It's going to be a game someday, sometime this season, where the Dolphins will need to score. One of the Dolphins will need to just score one possession because it was a dogfight. And listen, maybe they'll pull it out. There'll be another game maybe one day where that Jason Sanders, he'll win it for us instead of give us all a heart attack. But this one was definitely the offense. This was definitely an offensive game and a shining day for Tua and Tyreek. And obviously talked about that a little bit in the game recap. But I was my buddy, shout out to my boy DA, who was like, "Hey, you hear this Marino thing that happened?" I was like, "Oh, well, what do you mean? What do you mean?" I was reading a book to my kid. What do you mean? And apparently, Tyreek Hill had revealed that the GOAT himself, Dan Marino, imposed his wisdom upon Tua and the receivers that they all need to meet together. Dan Marino, it's such a funny thing with Dan Marino, right? Because it's like Dan Marino, obviously a legend, had this strange official stint with the Miami Dolphins that just kind of was there and gone in a second. But the guy is like been now around the team in a capacity, but it's kind of just like he's king of the Dolphins. He's there and he's in meetings and his presence is there. And it's just like he's just being there with all his Marino-ness. You know, you'll see him there. He's got the hat on. And he'll sit in the meetings with the QBs. He'll give them some advice. He'll chop it up every now and then. But apparently Tyreek Hill was saying that there was a big emphasis on this team knowing the system a lot better this year. And Tyreek Hill revealed in the post game today that Marino had given Tua and the receivers advice that they got to meet more, that they got to do their own personal meetings outside of positional groups to sharpen things up.
And then the TD catch.
Right. That's just that's what training camp moments are for. I feel like me and Tua and the rest of the guys and the rest of the pass catchers, we've been working our tail off on being on the same page. We meet together, after every practice, and we just try to find ways, to just be in the right spot for the quarterback. And the advice. We actually got that advice from the great Dan Marino, actually. He was like, you guys need to start meeting together after practice and don't meet with y'all position coach. So we decided to start meeting together. And ever since then, it's like everything's been on the same page with Tua. Everybody's been on the same page with Tua. And that last drive was a perfect example of it.
Was that this year that Dan gave you that advice?
Yeah, that was Dan Marino, the great Dan Marino.
He did that like this offseason?
No, it was actually preseason. Because I just so happened to be at the bar in a preseason game, and I walked in. He was like, "Hey, Reek, man, you've been doing a great job." And we began to talk about practice and stuff like that. He was like, "Yeah, you guys need to start meeting together. I used to do that with all my guys back in the day, and we used to be on the same page. So Tua went to Bev, and we just came together. Started watching film every day after practice, and it's been working wonders."
I mean, it's first of all, amazing. Amazing story. always with Tyreek, you do have to wonder like what is true, what is not true, because he is as Mike McDaniel puts it, an exaggerator. You know, like Tyreek did this thing this year where he was like, "Oh yeah, last year I didn't know any of the plays, I knew no film. I've been studying on Madden," which actually got headlines from people. And I'm like, you have to realize that this man half the time is trolling. So we do have to leave some room for, did Dan Marino actually have this meeting with Tyreek Hill? I don't know, but let's just say that he did. Amazing. I feel like I believe this story from Tyreek because it's a very wild lie or a wild concoction if it didn't have it. I actually believe this one because Dan Marino does hang out, does do meetings, and does kind of impart. And I do think that'd be something that cool that Dan would just kind of like throw aside because I think he probably knows that Tyreek will take that to heart, knowing that it's a legend. And the fact that they do seem on the same page. I mean, man, some of these throws today, dude, I mean, it's like, it's crazy because, you know, I do these things and it's like in the moment, I'm just so hyped up about it. I'm just like watching the game and it's craziness. But like you go back and you like watch the video of the third down throw that he had to Tyreek where he's eluding and just finds him down there in that big spot. I'm just like, man, that's a thing of friggin' beauty that he's able to put out there. And yeah, they really just seem in sync in just such a big way. And you're thinking to yourself, the growth of this guy to be able to find him for a 47-yard pass, put themselves in a position where, you know, Tua's he's putting up numbers. I think the numbers today were, this was out by Adam Schefter, and the read on it was, hold on, let me pull this up here. Schefter tweeted out that Tua Tagovailoa passed for 466 yards today, fourth most passing yards in a season-opening NFL game in history, trailing only Norm Van Brocklin, who incredibly passed for 554 yards in 1951. I didn't even know that was legal in 1951. Tom Brady, who threw for 517 yards in 2011, and Dan Marino, who threw for 473 yards in 1994. Tyreek Hill, he registered 215 receiving yards today, third most ever in an opening game in NFL history. Frank Clark has the record at 241 in 1962, and Anquan Bolden had 217 yards in 2017. So these boys were putting up some serious statistics, some serious numbers, and now you also find out that Dan Marino may have had a hand in all this greatness, which is, you know, Gennady Golovkin at this point, dude. It's triple G Goosies. It's Goosies on top of Goosies on top of Goosies that, you know, Dan Marino is out here imparting this wisdom on Tua and Tyreek Hill. And, oh, man, I got to tell you, listening to Brandon Staley in the postgame, because Brandon Staley came in with this I don't know. It was like a frostiness. It felt like towards, I don't know if it was Vic Fangio. I don't know if it was Ronaldo Hill up and leaving, but he would, you know, listening to him in the week, it was like, he's like, well, you know, last year, no impact, you know, no impact at all. And in a way, it's kind of true because this game really did have a life of its own. It wasn't like last year's game. First of all, from the standpoint of Dolphins had one of their worst offensive games last year. The only thing that was the same as last year was Tyreek Hill, 2 incredible touchdowns. That's the only mirror image that you have from last year's Dolphins Chargers to this year's, that Tyreek Hill, 2 great touchdowns. You know, obviously had the bomb, the 35-yarder, and then just that beaut to Tua for the go-ahead, that from Tua and the go-ahead pass. Just an incredible touch from that. But other than that, between the Dolphins having, you know, near, you know, incredible numbers and offense and lead changes and fortitude and all that stuff, huge. The Chargers just went about it completely differently. And it wasn't a game where they were kind of spreading the ball all around and these frustrating plays. They couldn't run the ball to save their lives in that game. And then this one, it was a huge focal point. And, you know, you almost wonder, you know, getting to it just from, they were having so much success with it. Did it take Justin Herbert out of a rhythm at all? Because there were some moments where they needed some real key throws from him. and he wasn't there. He had a couple of conversions, but like I'm talking like down in the red zone, and then especially the Dolphins being able to make him uncomfortable in that final drive. But yeah, Brandon Staley, he was I think getting frustrated with some of the media questions because he's just like, you know what, they're really good, actually, and I think did feel a little bit flummoxed by a team they had so much success with last year, even though he did come into this week saying, I don't expect this game we had last year to have any bearing on it. It was true. But I think that doesn't make it any less frustrating for Brandon Staley to hear that. And, just all of this, having this under the umbrella of you now have your quarterback put up these type of numbers again. Tua, last year it was week 2, which was the huge thriller that it got everybody going. It was like that. The thing with that one, such an improbable comeback and such a crazy thing that you were just like, what? You didn't even kind of know what you were watching. I think the thing that was exciting about this game from the offense was, I think there was an expectation. I think a lot of fans had a lot of faith that if Tua got the ball back and had the chance to give his team the lead, you felt like he was going to do it. Yeah, there were some dicey moments in there. I talked about that in the recap with like the tip ball, the near fumbles, and back-to-back possessions. But he just has this ability, and the receivers, you have to give them credit because they were great too. But they just had this ability every time, it felt like, to come out with a huge clutch play. And I think that has always been the sign of, like, you always wonder, like, what is a franchise quarterback? What is a guy who you truly believe in can be that guy? And the ability to drag your team when you face adversity, when things aren't going perfect, when he throws a pick, he comes back the next throw and throws a bomb touchdown to get you right back in it or give you the lead or any of that. I think that Tua's given you now a lot of these moments over the last couple of years. And, it's just very, very exciting to watch the guy play. And it's very exciting to see him continue to improve, continue to get better. We know about the physical stuff all the time, but hearing that stuff from Tyreek Hill about the preparation, the leadership, I mean, not surprising to hear because, everybody's talked wonders about his work ethic and his leadership, but it is kind of cool that you hear the idea of, hey, I heard this from one of the greats, and they all took to it. And the best receiver on the team, the best damn receiver in the league, the scariest weapon in the league is telling you, yeah, we worked our ass off. This was how it paid dividends for us. And now they got an opportunity to get going into Foxborough next week. Of course, they lost on Tom Brady Day today, just as an aside. The Patriots lost to the Eagles, which there's no shame in that game. Eagles are good, obviously. They lost 25-20. I did see the pick six that Mac Jones threw because he threw. It says in the stats, it says he threw 3 touchdowns. He really threw 4 because one was a pick six. So shout out to Mac Jones for getting that done today. But it's going to be an interesting thing coming up next week because they're going to go into New England. It's going to be a primetime game. Dolphins, I think, are 2-point favorites going into that one. And Tua's never lost to Bill Belichick. It's a stat that has come up, but it's funny. You see all these matchups around, and people are, over the going into last year and all over last year dismissing Tua. But like these matchups that he has of like, now he's 2-1 against Justin Herbert. He's undefeated against Bill Belichick. I'm sure the people will start catching up eventually, but maybe a week one. Week one usually gets a lot of overreaction for people. Maybe this will be the one that'll get a lot of the rats trying to get back on the ship. Who knows? But that was real goosies to hear what Tyreek had to say about Dan Marino.